I'm Aaron Reed, and welcome to the Evening News. I'm sad to report that this will be our final story. It's been 3 years since the US-China trade war broke out, and the entire world has been sent back to the Stone Age. The studio can no longer afford new camera equipment or the information systems required to stay in operation, so we've decided to bury this final report in a time capsule in hopes that future civilizations will find it and avoid making the same mistakes that we have. So before we get to our main story, I'd like to give some context on how trade wars work. So first, the nation develops a worldview based on its own unquestionable supremacy. Some country leader isn't given enough love as a child and grows up mean, selfish, and in constant pursuit of adoration to fill the emptiness within him. Trade wars start when one nation sinks another nation's shipping container. And it's important to note that during this stage, long-term financial repercussions are not weighed against a short-term political win. Then the stock market plummets, rises, plummets, then reacts however the hell it wants to. Things settle down and any resulting profits are absorbed into the salaries of high-level executives. Prices increase nationwide and everybody gets screwed. When two of the world's largest trading partners begin squabbling over who can establish the highest tariffs, there will inevitably be repercussions for both parties regarding economic growth, innovation, and the overall happiness of people's lives. For this special report, we're going to explore how the trade war has wrecked our nation. So let's check in with Lillian, our expert on the state of agriculture in the US, who has recently been working to crack down on the illegal bootlegging of soybeans into China.
What is up, you guys? Lillian coming at you with the effects that the China trade war has on the agriculture side for both the US and China. So we're going to go ahead and hop into the US side of things first. So basically, after China's recent announcement that they will be aiming to buy at least 20 billion of American goods, farmers have been quite frazzled. Over 230 Midwestern farmers have already filed for Chapter 12 bankruptcy since 2018, and more farmers are being forced to sadly take out bank loans just to get by. California is the United States' biggest dairy producer. These dairy farms in Cali can suffer from price changes only for so long before they are sadly forced to shut down. Now, the U.S. exported $12.2 billion in soybeans to China. In 2018, that number actually declined nearly 75% to just $3.1 billion. Through the first 6 months of 2019, the U.S. soybean exports to China have totaled to $2.9 billion American dollars. For the China side of things, China has already kind of started to prepare themselves for the dramatic decrease of soybean imports from the U.S. China has been buying more soybeans from other countries and promoting alternatives to soybeans to feed the livestock. Beijing has actually started to impose tariffs since July 6th. The country had already imposed about a 25% increase on tariffs over 500 different types of American products such as cotton, fruit, meat, nuts, soybeans, etc. Beijing has also stated that they are ready to take advantage of over 60 billion American dollars if President Trump follows through with adding extra money, which would be 200 billion US dollars to be exact in these Chinese goods. Sadly, back to the US side, the farmers have been so devastated and they're just hoping and praying for the best. So that's all I got for agriculture side. Back to you, Aaron.
Thanks, Lillian. Let's check in with Grace to see how things have been in the oil industry.
The U.S. is in a state of turmoil. Ever since China decided to raise tariffs on oil and liquefied natural gases, there has been a surplus of supply. U.S. production had been on a steady increase the months before China ended all trade with the U.S. In the 3 years since, production has not slowed down. Oil was spared in the beginnings of the trade war, as China heavily depended on it for their citizens' livelihood. At first, they were afraid to raise tariffs on oil from the United States because there weren't any other suitable sources. The Middle East was becoming increasingly unstable, and Venezuela does not export enough crude oil to satisfy China's growing demand. Now, however, the U.S. and China have raised their tariffs so high that both countries refuse to trade with each other. This has caused American oil companies to overproduce for the dwindling demand. The U.S. produced record-breaking numbers of oil in 2019, up to 3 million barrels a day. The reason they were able to produce so much is because they export 90% of it, needing only 10% to effectively supply domestic needs. U.S. oil production only grew, and the demand for it simply wasn't there. China was the leading importer, and without China, there was no need for so much oil production. China has lost much of its oil, and it's affecting their citizens. Cars are becoming too expensive to maintain, and public transportation is increasingly unavailable. How did this affect America? Well, for a while, everything was fine. They were able to export to other countries, namely South Korea and India. It became quickly apparent, however, that it was simply not necessary for there to be as many oil companies as there were in 2019. Projects were being pushed back continuously, and so a lot of oil companies closed their doors. Many Americans lost their jobs, and there weren't enough empty positions to accommodate them. On the plus side, oil and gas prices are at an all-time low. Unfortunately, no one can afford to buy cars. Back to you, Aaron.
Thanks, Grace. We're going to check in with Holly on the state of our tech industry.
Hello, my name is Holly Organ, and I will be covering the trade war on technology. Breaking news. No more smartphones will be available in the U.S. After Samsung and Apple went bankrupt, there were no new smartphones. Motorola, HTC, and OnePlus are the only phone companies that manufacture in the U.S., and they only make basic cell phones. So we will have to go back to the basic flip phones. Once your smartphone goes out, there is no company support to fix phone problems/bugs. So if you currently own an Android, Samsung, or Apple product, it'll still work, but whenever you have an issue with it, there's no new updates or phone repair. The technology affected by the trade wars: smartphones, smartwatches, computers, laptops, TVs, tablets, and cameras. So if you don't already own these products, they will no longer be available to you in the U.S. Apple went bankrupt and sold out to Huawei. The company designed and sold most of its products in the U.S., but imported them from China after assembly. All Apple products still being used in the U.S. will have no new updates and are now worthless products. During the trade war, Apple stocks dropped about 4% to 5% weekly. Samsung Electronic Company in summer 2019, their profits fell more than 50%. Huawei stopped buying memory chips from Samsung, one of their main buyers. This caused Samsung to go bankrupt. Huawei is now the largest electronics company in the world. They are located in China and have been around since the 1960s. They bought out Apple and Samsung after the trade war, taking over all of their manufacturers in China. All Huawei products are still blacklisted in the U.S., therefore all smartphones will not be available to the U.S. consumer. Thank you so much. Back to you, Aaron.
Thank you, Holly. Let's see how things are going in China. Steven?
观众朋友们，晚上好！今天是11月7日，星期四，欢迎收看晚间新闻节目。首先为您介绍这次节目的主要内容。受近日中美贸易战的影响，我国的电子技术行业、农贸业、石油以及轻工业等均遭受不同程度的打击。由于美国停止供应高端芯片及半导体，国内各大手机企业均在研究新型芯片半导体。近日粮价有所上涨，主要体现在土豆、大豆及玉米等。同时，油价也有所上涨，相比去年同时期涨幅大约30%左右。由于海外市场对我国轻工业的需求大大减少， 手工业工人的失业率大大增加。若不是美国政府首先提高我们一批价值300亿美元商品的关税，我国政府也不会反击，这中美贸易战也不会就这样轰轰烈烈地打响，世界经济也不会遭受重创。总而言之，我国受到的影响远不及美国对自己造成的损伤。我们希望双方意识到自己的错误，以后不会发生类似的事件。